to set this up in a fair way, because this is fair. What we're going to do tonight is fair. On the others, if you watch television, listen to the radio, whatever, you're not going to get fair. You're going to get partisan. That's what you get. This is not going to be that. All right. So Donald Trump convicted of 34 counts of falsifying business records. Low-level beef. Not Watergate, not Monica Lewinsky in the White House, not the Teapot Dome scandal, okay? Low-level beef. Did he do it? I don't know whether he did it or not. I mean, it's certainly possible, maybe probable, that they took the books in the Trump organization, paid off Stormy Daniels and gave the Inquirer guy some money or whatever. Absolutely possible. Did I see evidence beyond a reasonable doubt? No, but I wasn't in the courtroom as the 12 jurors were. Should this case have been brought? No, particularly not for a president and who's running for re-election, Donald Trump. Shouldn't have been brought. This is terrible for the country. I hope everybody understands that. There's nothing good about this. Nothing. And I'll get to that in a little while. So when I heard the verdict of 34 guilty counts on falsifying business records, I wasn't surprised because this case in Manhattan was presented in a way that was very constricted to the defense. And we have Brett Tallman going to tell us what mistakes the judge made, because that's important on appeal. And you know this is going to be appealed. And Trump's not going to be put in jail. None of that's going to happen. All right, he'll be able to carry on his campaign. Perhaps the most important thing is something that's not going to be reported tonight, except by us. There's an NPR poll out that asked Americans, whatever happens in the Trump trial, and it just came out today, this poll, will it influence your vote on Donald Trump? And the vast majority of Americans say no. And the ones that say yes, it was even. Some said, I'm less likely to vote for him, more likely. It was a total wash. And this is NPR. I believe that's true. So I think Trump's poll numbers will go down in the next few weeks. But once summer kicks in, as I analyzed this week, and people are paying a massive amount of money for food and restaurants and vacations and gas and everything else, this is going to be a distant memory come September. And there are no other trials that are going to come up before Election Day. All right, so let's begin with Donald Trump himself. Go.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Why should voters vote for a convicted felon?
All right, that was 90 seconds. That was shorter than I thought. I mean, Trump, usually is more loquacious than that. But what happens now is that Trump and his lawyers appeal. Now, remember, New York State is different than the city. So they're going up, and the appellate division probably won't overturn the verdict. But once they get into the highest court in New York, that's the court that overturned the Weinstein verdict, because they said the trial wasn't fair, which is exactly what the Trump lawyers are going to go for, just so you know the process. Now, I believe that Trump might be able to get this if he loses in New York State and all the courts into the federal system, but everybody's telling me I'm crazy to believe that. So I might be. I'm not a lawyer. But it looks to me like, you can get in under a few statutes here, but be that as a man, I don't want to be too much skepticism in our reporting here. Okay, so now the judge has to pronounce a sentence. And if it's draconian and it prevents Trump from campaigning, boom, it's going to go right to the Supreme Court. That's where it'll go. I don't think Mark Chan wants to do that. But I'm guessing here. So what I assume will be Trump will be released after Marchand pronounces whatever sentence he pronounces. Remember, these are low-level beefs, okay? And then he's free on appeal. It's what usually happens 90% of the time, unless you're a dangerous criminal and run around knifing people. And there in New York City, you'll be let out. But okay, so what should Americans think about this? Here's what I think about it, not as a journalist or historian. I'll get to that in a moment. I'm really disturbed about the level of hatred that is rising in America. So when you have more than 70 million people voting for Donald Trump in 2020, more than 70 million, not many of those people are going to be very happy with this. And they're going to start to blame, okay? The scene in The Godfather where Don Corleone sitting around a table with all the other mafioso, and he goes, if lightning should hit my youngest son, I'm going to hold some of the people in this room accountable, okay? There's that vengeance in the air. It's in the air. This isn't Obama, Romney, Obama, McCain. This is not. I was in the middle of those campaigns. This is rank hatred on both sides. And that's going to grow. And that's bad for the country. So what Mark Chan did was he played the progressive Manhattan political game, made mistakes. So Brett Tallman, very fair man, you know him, we use him a lot here. He obviously followed this trial very, very closely. So I asked him earlier today, what were the key mistakes that the judge made that could reverse this whole thing on appeal? Roll tape. Let's bring in a guy who's much smarter than me on this, and I hate to admit that. A man who looks exactly like U.S. Grant. Okay, there he is, Brett Tallman, former U.S. Attorney for Utah, coming to us from Salt Lake City. You know, I think Grant and you guys are kind of simpatico with the beard and things like that. Very good.
And the horses, yeah.
So I want to know the biggest mistake Judge Mark Chan made in this trial, in your opinion, because the judge's mistakes are going to lead the appeal process, correct?
Yes, absolutely. You know, I would say in this order. First, he forgot one of the most important rules of evidence, Rule 403, which a judge is supposed to use to determine what comes into evidence and what doesn't. And it expressly says nothing unfairly prejudicial to the defendant or irrelevant to the defendant. The entire testimony of, most of the testimony of Stormy Daniels, most of the testimony of Cohen, would have been thrown out by, I would say, 99% of the judges under Rule 403. The other thing that
Wait. Why would it have been thrown out by most judges when we're talking about what? What wasn't relevant?
So all of the details of the sexual encounter with Stormy Daniels, highly prejudicial, irrelevant to what the elements of the counts were that the government had to prove. They could have taken the high road on this, but I think they did want to take body shots to Trump and show him as an undesirable human being.
Right, and that hasn't been proven. That's still an alleged encounter, and the judge let it in, and it didn't really go to the crimes that were charged. Okay, and then next, what else did Marchand do that could lead to a successful appeal for Trump?
There's a rule that judges follow to err on the side of allowing the defendant to put on the case that they want to put on. So what that means is they give them far more latitude when it comes to cross-examination. They give them far more latitude to presentation of their own witnesses and the evidence they want to bring in. You don't see typically, Bill, a judge that is sustaining objections before the question is even asked on an examination of the defense's witnesses like they did. You don't see them limiting the witnesses like the judge did. That was a very big issue, that they wouldn't let in an individual that's very familiar with federal election law to indicate whether or not the statute would cover even the allegations that are being raised in this case. And that should have been allowed, and most judges would have, because they don't want to be reversed on appeals.
So there you go. No emotion in that analysis. This is the way we want it. Sentencing, by the way, is July 11th. Okay, so it's a good distance away. It shows you that there's no urgency on the part of the New York City authorities. I mean, this isn't a heinous crime. That's what it shows you. Sentencing could be tomorrow. Now, in the meantime, what's going to happen, Marchand's going to be calling every judge in the state going, what could I, like that. It's CYA for him. Cover your you-know-what. Now, what should happen in this country? What is the best thing for the United States of America? I wrote a message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com, and I really hope you go every morning and read it. It's not complicated. Tomorrow, President Joe Biden, who will return to the White House for the first time this week to see the Kansas City Chiefs, okay, before he sees the football team, Super Bowl winners, he should pardon Donald Trump of any and all crimes, okay? And then the next day, Saturday, he can pardon Hunter Biden. And he can say in both cases, enough. All of this is not helping our republic. This elevates Biden, okay? It puts him into Gerald Ford category. You remember, Ford pardoned Nixon for Watergate crimes, which were 1,000 times worse than falsifying business records. And so were the Clinton situation on Lewinsky. It was much worse. The breach, that whole thing, the lying to the American people, much worse than falsifying business records. And I'm sure you would agree. If you don't, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, let me know. But come on. And when you read Confronting the Presidents and see what our past chief executives did, this Trump thing is minuscule. So Biden should say, enough. If Biden did that, he might very well win in November. Because people would go, whoa, he's putting the country above himself. Yes, he's got a motive with Hunter, okay, but we all know what Hunter did. We all know there's no subterfuge about Hunter Biden in the gun charge and the other stuff. Okay, now the money thing, that gets a little more dicey there. But he's not charged there yet. He's charged with income tax evasion. So Biden will not do my suggestion, which, by the way, I haven't seen anywhere else in this country. I'm bragging, but that's why you watch and listen to me. Well, he should issue a blanket pardon on Donald Trump tomorrow and a selected pardon on Hunter Biden on Saturday. then that takes away a lot of the animus from the debate in June. Because Biden's going to march in there having done Trump a favor. Whether Trump knows it or not, I don't know. And if Trump goes at Biden, you can just make a joke out of it. Say, so, well, you know, try to do something nice. You know how you do it. But Biden will never do it. And the reason is he doesn't put his country first. He doesn't. He puts himself first. You can make that argument about Donald Trump, too. You can make it. But can you imagine if tomorrow Biden said, enough of this, I don't want Americans hating each other? Because there may be violence. Could be. I know when Robert De Niro went out there, De Niro wanted to punch somebody's lights out, and vice versa. And now, with this Trump conviction, the MAGA people, most of the 70 million people who voted for Trump, they believe this whole thing is BS, just as Trump said. They firmly believe it. I believe it, and I'm not a MAGA person. This case would have not been brought in 45 out of the 50 states. Wouldn't have happened. The feds declined. They could have brought it. This is such a miscarriage of justice, but we don't have justice anymore in America, particularly in New York State, because I live here. I know. There is no justice in this state. None. Contracts don't matter. Ideology rules the bench. It's who you are, not what you did. It's crazy. Poor people have no chance. If you're attacked by somebody and accused by somebody, you better have hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend yourself. Because if you don't, you're not even getting a lawyer. That's how it is in New York State. So we got a lot of problems in this country. And this thing in Manhattan, and just for a second, think about Putin, Xi, the mullahs in Tehran, Hamas. Think about them all. They're just laughing at us. Falsifying business records? Putin's stolen hundreds of billions of dollars. He's the richest man in the world. Xi will have you executed in 20 minutes. Falsifying business records? So some shakedown doesn't get public before the election? Is that what you're telling me? They're laughing at us. So I know Biden's not going to do it. If he did, I would gain a measure of respect for him, even though he's the second worst president in history, next to James Buchanan. I would, if he did it, just like Ford. Ford put his whole presidential campaign on the line by pardoning Nixon, but it was the right thing to do to stop the madness that emanated out of the Vietnam War and Watergate. And Ford was a hero for doing it, as you'll see in confronting the presidents. But Biden, I'd be shocked. Shocked. Now, he better be careful, Biden, because he's got to make a statement about this, or says he's going to, using the White House as a backdrop. You got to be careful. Okay, because the appeal process is still in place. This could be reversed totally on appeal, and Trump would be then not guilty. Keep that in mind. Biden got to be careful. But Biden, it's a whole different world there. Again, I covered Romney and Obama. I covered McCain and Obama. It wasn't this kind of hatred. On both parts, they hate each other. I'd be surprised if there's a handshake on that debate coming up in June. Probably will be, but boy, they loathe each other. Anyway, summing up, the verdict is a verdict. Nothing anybody can do about it. Trump lawyers will appeal, sentencing July 11th. Marchant probably not going to do anything outrageous in the sentencing because that would make the appeal easier and give the Trump lawyers an avenue to go to the feds if he does something, you know, obviously vindictive to keep Donald Trump off the campaign trail. Because that is basically interfering in our electoral process, our democratic process. I want to hear from you. I'm going to be on News Nation tonight with Cuomo. Okay, you can watch that. But I want to hear from you. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Name and town so I know you're a real person. I think that we just delivered the best analysis that you will hear. But if somebody's better, you let me know, because I'll check it out. All right?